Alas! Poor Yorick! I knew him, Horatio! He was a fellow of infinite jest, of most excellent fancy. He hath borne me on his back a 1,000 times. And now, how abhorred in my imagination it is. Oh, my gorge rises at it. Here hung those lips that I have kissed I know not how oft. Where be your jibes now, eh? Your gambols, your songs, your flashes of merriment that were wont to set the table on a roar. Not one now, to mock your own grinning. Quite, chap. Fallen? Then you get to my lady's chamber and tell her, let her paint an inch thick. To this favour she must come. Make her laugh at that.
Hiram Maxim was born in Maine, embarking down a path which that gave us a gun that bore his name. Rat-a-tat-tat, rat-a-tat-tat. The British turned it down at first, declaring that it would fall flat. The Germans saw its murderous thirst. Rat-a-tat-tat, rat-a-tat-tat. Placed at the forefront of their lines as a defense to all attack. Yet on we marched, despite the signs. Rat-a-tat-tat, rat-a-tat-tat. And those that charged fell to their grave so long before they could combat. The bullets came on like a wave. Rat-a-tat-tat, rat-a-tat-tat. And on the blood-stained fields at Somme, with venom where the lead globs spat. The dead fell as a ghastly throng. Rat-a-tat-tat, rat-a-tat-tat. The mode of war had changed for good. No more games of mouse and cat. Coolet was replaced with blood. Rat-a-tat-tat, rat-a-tat-tat. As time went past, their kill rate grew. The fields looked like a crimson map. Widows and orphans did accrue. Rat-a-tat-tat, rat-a-tat-tat. Yet, knighted for his gears of war, Maxim grew rich and then got fat, whilst countless boys would wake no more. Rat-a-tat-tat, rat-a-tat-tat.
Torn line wavers, breaks and falls. Come on, get up, the captain calls. Get up the Welsh, and on we go. Oh, that my lads have failed me so. A dying boy grinned up and said, the whole damned company, sir, they're dead. Come on, you cowards, the captain bawled then. Fell killed among his writhing men.
My stretcher is one scarlet stain, and as I tries to scrape it clean, I'll tell you what, I'm sick of pain, for all I've heard, for all I've seen. Around me is this hellish night, and as the war's red rim I trace, I wonder if in heaven's height our God don't turn away his face. I don't care who the crime may be. I hold no brief for kin or clan. I feel no hate. I only see as man destroys his brother man. I wave no flag. I only know as here, beside the dead, I wait. A million hearts away with woe. A million homes are desolate. In dripping darkness far and near, all night I've sought those woeful ones. Dawn, sun's up, and still I hear the crimson chorus of the guns. Look, like a ball of blood, the sun hangs o'er the scene of wrath and wrong. Quick! Stretcher bearers on the run! O Prince of Peace, how long? How long?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Just over there lies a man by the name of Paul Cinquevalli, the gentleman juggler, the father of modern juggling, who dazzled audiences across the world at the turn of the 20th century. Born to an aristocratic Prussian family in 1859, he ran away from home at the age of 12 to join the circus, and soon became an accomplished trapeze artist. But alas, one day, while performing a high wire walk, he fell. After recovering from his injuries, he took up juggling, and feats of strength, which included spinning a bathtub on his head, and in one death-defying trick, dropping a cannonball from 40 feet and catching it on the back of his neck. Cinquevalli first came to England in 1885 and became known as the gentleman juggler, not so much for his dapper appearance, but rather for his uncanny ability juggle with household objects. Anything from cups, vases, pots and pans flew out of his hands, to the delight of music hall audiences. One of Cinquevalli's trademark tricks, in which he took a chair, placed it in his mouth like so. His assistant then sat on the chair, reading a newspaper with a desk on his lap. All that while the gentleman juggler juggled 3 balls. So, we have a chair, got newspaper. I'm going to need a volunteer. Okay, so while you think about what you've just signed up for, I'm going to get the desk. I can fix this. With my assistant, Paul. Ready? Chair is comfortable. Paul Cinquevalli enjoyed great success, but unfortunately, at the start of the First World War, he was ostracized for his German background. And soon was forced to retire from the stage. He died in 1918, and he's buried just over there in that pink obelisk. Thank you very much. You've been a wonderful audience.
Gwendolyn Fairfax.
Cecily Cardew.
What a very sweet name. Something tells me we are going to be great friends. My first impressions of people are never wrong.
How nice of you to like me after such a comparatively short time. Pray sit down.
I may call you Cecily, may I not? And you will always call me Gwendolyn?
if you wish.
You are here on a short visit, I suppose.
Oh no, I live here.
Really? Your mother, no doubt, or some female relative of advanced years resides here also?
Oh no, I have no mother, nor in fact any relations. My dear guardian has the arduous task of looking after me.
Your guardian?
Yes, I am Mr. Worthing's ward.
It is strange he never mentioned to me that he had a ward. How very secretive of him. He grows more interesting hourly. I am very fond of you, Cecily. I have liked you ever since I met you. But now that I know that you are Mr. Worthing's ward, I cannot help expressing a wish that you were, well, just a little older than you seem to be, and not quite so alluring in appearance. Ernest has a strong, upright nature,
but it is not Mr. Ernest Worthing who is my guardian. No, it is his brother, his elder brother.
Ernest never mentioned he had a brother. Now that I think of it, I have never heard any man mention his brother. The subject seems distasteful to most men. Are you quite sure?
Quite sure. In fact, Mr. Ernest Worthing and myself are engaged to be married.
My darling Cecily, there must be some slight error. Mr. Ernest Worthing is engaged to me.
I'm afraid you are under some misconception, dear Gwendolen. Ernest proposed to me exactly 10 minutes ago.
It certainly is very curious, for he asked me to be his wife yesterday afternoon at 5:30. I never travel without my diary. One should always have something sensational to read on the train.
Whatever unfortunate entanglement my dear boy might have gotten into, I will never reproach him with after we are married.
Do you allude to me, Miss Cardew, as an entanglement?
This is no time for wearing the shallow mask of manner. When I see a spade, I call it a spade.
I am glad to say I have never seen a spade. It is obvious that our social spheres have been widely different.
Now that I'm dead, I know everything. That's what I always wished would happen. But like so many of my wishes, it's failed to come true. I know only a few factoids now that I didn't before. Death is much too high a price to pay for the satisfaction of curiosity, needless to say. Since being dead, since achieving this state of bonelessness, liplessness, breathlessness, I've learned some things I would rather not know, as one does when listening at windows or opening other people's letters. You think you'd like to read minds? Think again. Down here, everyone arrives with a sack, like the sacks used to carry the winds, only these sacks are full of words. Words you've spoken, words you've heard, words that have been said about you. Some sacks are very large, others small. My own is of a reasonable size, though a lot of the words in it concern my eminent husband. What a fool he made of me, some say. That was a speciality of his, making fools. He got away with everything, which was another of his specialities, getting away. He was always so plausible. Many people believed that his version of events was the true one. Give or take a few murders, a few beautiful seductresses, a few one-eyed monsters. But I like to think that he never played his tricks on me. Hadn't I been faithful? Didn't I wait and wait and wait, despite the temptation, almost the compulsion to do otherwise? And yet, what have I amounted to? Now the official version has gained ground. An edifying legend. A stick used to beat other women with. Why can't they be as considerate, as trustworthy, as all-suffering as I was? That's the line they take. The yarn spinners, the singers. Don't follow my example. I want to scream in your ears. Yes, yours! When I try to scream, I sound like an owl. We are the maids.
The ones you killed.
The ones you failed.
We danced in air.
Our bare feet twitched. It was not fair.
With every goddess, queen, and bitch.
From there to here,
You scratched your itch.
we did much less.
than what you did. You judged us bad. You had the spear.
You had the word.
At your command.
We scrubbed the blood of our dead paramours.
From floors. From chairs.
From stairs.
From doors.
We knelt in water.
While you stared
At our bare feet.
It was not fair.
You licked our fear.
It gave you pleasure.
You raised your hand.
You watched us fall. We danced on air. The ones you failed. The ones you killed. Sleep is the only rest we get.
Then we are at peace.
We do not have to mop the floor.
And wipe away the grease.
We are not chased around the hall.
Or tumbled in the dirt.
By every greedy thug and lout who wants a slice of skirt.
But when we sleep, we like to dream.
We dream we are at sea.
We sail the waves in golden boats, so happy, clean and free.
In dreams we are all beautiful, in glossy crimson dresses.
We sleep with every man we love.
We shower them with kisses.
They fill our days with feasting.
We fill their nights with
We
song.
take them in our golden boats and drift the whole year long.
And all is mirth and kindness.
There are no tears of pain.
For our decrees are merciful throughout our golden reign.
But then the morning wakes us up
Once more we toil and slave.
and hoist our skirts at their command for every prick and knave.
Alma Jean Henry, originally from Trinidad and Tobago, entrusted her life savings from her successful operatic career to charitable works. Her charitable trust still exists to this day. She is not the only opera singer who is buried in this cemetery. There is also a lady called Alice Burville. Born in 1856, not 1956, born in 1856, she was a famous English soprano and actress and was most famous for touring Gilbert and Sullivan operas and operettas. She was also part of the famous Doyley Car Company. I thought we would share her life today by singing a song from HMS Pinafore called Little Buttercup. I hope you enjoy. I'm called Little Buttercup, dear Little Buttercup, though I shall never tell why. Though still I'm called Buttercup, poor Little Buttercup, sweet Little Buttercup I've snuff and tobacco and excellent Jackie, I've watches and scissors and knives, I've ribbons and laces to set off the faces of pretty young sweethearts and wives. I've treacle and toffee, I've tea and I've coffee, soft Tommy and succulent chops. I've chicken and conies and pretty polonies and excellent peppermint drops. So buy from your buttercup, dear little buttercup, sailors should never be shy. So buy from your buttercup, poor little buttercup. Come for your buttercup, buy. Thank you.
Would you care for an hors d'oeuvre? Or a canapé? I sense you are disgusted by my regimen. But it is good, very nutritious, very wholesome. It is life, and it gives life to me. Of all my patients, the case of Renfield grows more interesting the more I get to understand the man. He has several qualities very highly developed: selfishness, secrecy, and purpose. He seems to have some settled scheme of his own, but what it is, I don't yet know. At the beginning of June, his hobby was catching flies. Later he turned his mind to spiders, and he kept several big fellows in a wee box. He fed the spiders with the flies. By July, he'd acquired a sparrow, which he quickly tamed by means of feeding it the spiders. Almost within a week, he had progressed to keeping a whole colony of sparrows. I have a favour to ask you, Dr. Seward. A very, very great favour. A favour, Mr. Renfield? What favour? A kitten. I beg you, a nice little kitten. A sleek little kitten, a playful kitten. Something that I can play with, something that I can teach, something that I can feed. Something that I can feed. No one will refuse me a kitten, would they? Well, I will see about it, Mr. Renfield. But wouldn't you rather have a cat? Oh, yes! A cat! A big cat! I only asked for a kitten unless you refuse me a cat. I would like a cat. My salvation depends on it. Your salvation? Well, look, I'm afraid at present it may not be possible, but I will see about it, Mr. Renfield. I most certainly will look into it. His face fell, and I could see a warning of danger in it, for he gave me a sudden, fierce, sidelong look, which meant killing. 20th of July. I visited Renfield very early, before the attendant went his rounds. I looked around for his birds, and not seeing them, I asked him where they were. He told me they'd all flown away, but I could see a few feathers about the room, and on his pillow, a drop of blood. An hour or two later, Renfield was sick and disgorged a whole lot of feathers. He had eaten his birds, and he had eaten them raw. Now, the way I understand it is that what he desires is to absorb as many lives as he can. He gave the many flies to one spider and the many spiders to one bird. Then he wanted a cat to eat the many birds. What would his later steps be? It would almost be worthwhile to continue the experiment. 20th of August. A strange and sudden change in Renfield. He's usually very respectful, at times servile, but tonight he grew haughty and superior. I don't want to talk to you. You don't count now. The master is at hand. The immortal master. Now at the hospital, we must be careful to look out for squalls, for a strong man with homicidal and religious mania at once might be dangerous. He will soon think he himself is God. How these madmen give themselves away. I tried to turn the talk to talk of his pets, which had never failed to excite his attention. I don't give a pin about them. I don't care about them. Don't bother me with the pets. What? You mean to say you don't care about spiders? The bride maidens rejoice the eyes that await the coming of the bride. But when the bride draweth nigh, the bride maidens shine not to the eyes that are filled. I'm weary tonight and low in spirits. I cannot help but think of Lucy and how different things might have been. If I don't sleep, chloral hydrate, modern Morpheus, perhaps even a little morphine, just a little morphine. I must be careful not to let it grow into a habit. I am your slave, master, and you will reward me, for I am faithful. I pray you will not pass me by, will you, dear master, in your distribution of good things? You! I like flies to wanton boys to the master. We kill you for our sport, but he has promised me life! He has promised me life! Restrain him! No! 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 When we closed in on him, he fought like a tiger, more like a wild beast than a man. I've never seen such a paroxysm of rage in a lunatic before. He's safe now at any rate, chained to the wall of the padded room. His guttural manias are dreadful, but it is the silences that follow that are more deadly still. Every movement of his eye means murder. 1st of October. Today, his manner was that of a man commanding destiny. I await your bidding, master. I will be patient. I've worshipped you for so long and so far off. But now you are coming. The master is coming. He's coming. The master is coming. He's coming. He's coming.
Let me die a young man's death, not a clean and in between the sheets, holy water death, not a famous last words, peaceful, out of breath death. When I am 73 and in constant good humor, may I be mown down at dawn by a bright red sports car on my way home from an all-night party. Or when I'm 91 with silver hair, sitting on a barber's chair, may rival gangsters with ham-fisted Tommy guns burst in and give me a short back and insides. Or when I'm 104 and banned from the cavern, may my mistress, catching me in bed with her daughter and fearful for her son, chop me up into little pieces and throw away every piece but one. Let me die a young man's death, not a free from sin, tiptoe in candle wax and waning death, not a curtains drawn by angels born. Ah, what a nice way to go, death. Thank you.
Hello and welcome. It was a great honour to be appointed cook to Mrs. Isabella Beeton. Her spirit shone throughout the whole establishment, and we were all greatly saddened at her untimely death at the young age of only 29. Her advice, set out in her book of household management, reflected her belief that she who makes her husband and children happy reclaims the one from vice, but trains the other up to virtue, and that there is no more fruitful source of family discontent than badly cooked dinners and untidy ways. As the fourth-ranking domestic after the house steward, the valet and the butler, I earned £30 a year. And my work was always governed by her beliefs. For instance, she believed early rising is essential to ensure that the kitchen is orderly and well managed, and any domestic who does not follow suit will almost certainly become a sluggard. As the cook, the head of the kitchen, the qualities of cleanliness, neatness, order, regularity, celerity of action influence the conduct of those under her. Excellence of cookery could only be obtained through practice and experience. And in order that the cook can perform all her duties properly, all terms of indecision should be banished. Terms such as pinch of this or a handful of that should never be used. The recipes in Mrs. Beeton's book ensured that the basics of cookery was intelligible for any housewife. She listed all the ingredients, the mode of preparation, a careful estimate of cost, the number of people that the dish might be sufficient for, and the time of the year when it might be seasonable. No recipe went into that book without first undergoing a vigorous trial. And the kitchen at Pinafore, well, was the scene of many experiments, and I have to say, some failures. She herself had a distaste for unfamiliar food. She thought mangoes tasted like turpentine, lobsters were indigestible, garlic was offensive, and potatoes were suspicious. She thought that cheese should only be eaten by sedentary people as an after-dinner stimulant, and then only in very small quantities. Bread and cheese as a meal was only fit for soldiers on the march or for labourers out in the open air. They liked it, you see, because it held in the stomach for a long time. Mrs. Beeton believed that a kitchen should have a largeness of dimension, excellent light, height of ceiling and good ventilation, an easiness of access through the house, and yet be sufficiently remote from the principal apartments of the house that the family and any visitors or guests would not be subjected to the odours of cooking or hear the noise of any culinary operations. But finally, I would urge you all to read Mrs. Beeton's book of household management, for she places great emphasis on a mistress's ability to thoroughly understand the theory and the practice of cookery. And I'm sure you would all agree with her favourite aphorism: there should be a place for everything and everything in its place. Thank you.
And all this was yesterday, you say?
Yes, of course it was yesterday.
And here, where we are now?
Where else do you think? Do you not recognise the place?
Recognise? What is there to recognise? All my lousy life I've crawled about in the mud, and you talk to me about scenery. Look at this muck heap. I've never stirred from it.
Calm yourself. Calm yourself.
You and your landscapes. Tell me about the worms.
All the same, you can't tell me that this bears any resemblance to the Macon country, for example. Can't deny there's a big difference.
The Macon country? Who's talking to you about the Macon country?
But you were there yourself, in the Macon country.
Oh, no, I was never in the Macon country. I puked my puke of a life away right here, I tell you, in the Cacon country.
But we were there together. I could swear to it. Picking grapes for a man called... Can't think of the name of the man. In a place called... Can't think of the name of the place. Do you not remember?
It's possible. I didn't notice anything.
But down there, everything is red.
I didn't notice anything, I tell you.
You're a hard man to get on with, Go-Go.
Be better if we parted.
You always say that. You always come crawling back.
Best thing would be to kill me, like the other.
What other? What other?
The billions of others.
Oh, to every man his little cross. Till he dies. And is forgotten.
In the meantime, let us try and converse calmly, since we are incapable of keeping silent.
You're right. We're inexhaustible.
It's so we won't think.
We have that excuse.
It's so we won't hear.
We have our reasons.
All the dead voices.
They make a noise like wings.
Like leaves.
Like sand.
Like leaves.
They all speak together.
Each one to itself.
Rather, they whisper.
They rustle.
They murmur.
They rustle.
What do they say?
Oh, they talk about their lives.
Oh, to have lived is not enough for them.
They have to talk about it.
To be dead is not enough for them.
It is not sufficient.
They make a noise like feathers.
Like leaves.
Like ashes.
Like leaves.
Say something.
I'm trying!
Say anything at all!
What do we do now?
Wait for Godot.
Oh.
This is awful.
Sing something.
No. No. We could start all over again, perhaps.
Oh, that should be easy.
It's the start that's difficult.
You can start anywhere.
Yes, but you have to decide.
True.
Help me.
I'm trying. Oh.
Well, this, as you just heard, is your last stop, or your final resting place, you might say. Now, I am a pearly king or queen, and I would like to sing you a song about everything that you've just seen. Are you enjoying your night?
Yes.
Oh, good. Well, let's hope that I can get this right. I didn't last time. First there was a war, but dying young is such a bore. And then boxers, Jack and Tom, they died before we had the Somme. Then Martin Bladen played cricket, that wrestler they called Hackenschmidt. I'd like to hug them, everyone, but I'm not allowed, so let's move on. Then there's that famous Henry Tate. I've got to admit, a lot of his sugar I ate. Conquering heroes, harmony, and Hamlet's to be or not to be. That juggler was a sight to see. Then you could have a cup of tea in the rose garden with Gwendoline and Cicely. The Greeks are buried here, but it must have cost them dear. Then there's opera singers over there. These days we just have go compare. Inventors, engineers, stretching back across the years. Then Dracula comes out at night. I must admit that gave me a fright. And then a poem by Roger McGough, as you leave us with your last cough. Mrs. Beeton liked to bake, but Boris says don't eat more cake. And so you've enjoyed both dance and song, and you've met Vladimir and Estragon. Will Godot ever come? Spoiler alert. He done. Oswald Denison of Windrush fame, this latest grave preserves his name. 'Cause burial is colourblind, nobody gets left behind. Know why? 'Cause when it's your time, it's your time. And that's my time, ladies and gentlemen. Good night.